Well, hello there, and welcome to this episode of the Terri Cole Show. I'm so happy that you are here with me today. So, I want to start with a couple of questions for you, as I like to do. So, if you wait too long to set a boundary with someone, do you find that when you finally do it, you explode? It comes out as anger. When you try to assert your preferences or your desires, do you find it difficult, or do you find that you're overly aggressive because the whole process of setting boundaries is new for you? So it's almost like you're not controlling your tone and the energy that you are bringing to the boundary conversation. If you're nodding your head yes, well then this video is for you, because I'm going to be talking about boundaries and tone and what you can do to bring the appropriate tone to this process of setting boundaries. Because a lot of times, especially when it's new, we do it badly, right? We do it aggressively. And of course, what happens is the other people do not respond well. So I'm going to be talking to you and giving you some steps that you can take today in the downloadable guide to have your tone and your body language sort of match what it is that you're saying and the way you want it to be received. Okay, before we get into it, if you happen to be new to this channel, introduce yourself in the comments. We are a friendly group here. Make sure that you subscribe. Hit that bell icon so that you get notified every time I roll out something new, which is every Tuesday and every Thursday. And hey man, I wouldn't want you to miss a thing. This is all juicy stuff that will make your life better, because that is what I want to do. If you don't know me, my name is Terri Cole. I'm a licensed psychotherapist. I'm a relationship expert, and I am the author of Boundary Boss, which you can get at boundarybossbook.com. I also love how active this channel is. It's all about you guys. You make it what it is. This community, it's like our own little town kind of right here on YouTube. So I love to shine a light on your comments and what you guys have to say. So today I just want to shine a light on what Jill W. Lawson had to say under the video, Kinda Bored, 3 Ways to Rekindle the Spark in Your Relationship. And Jill says, beautiful advice as always. Thank you, Terri. Have a wonderful day. Well, thank you, Jill. I hope that you have a wonderful day. And I appreciate all of the activity that happens on this YouTube channel, because really, you guys, it's all about you. What I do because of you. Without you, there is no me doing this, So thank you for being here. All right, let's move it into today's actual content. So let's start with the premise that how you deliver anything, the energy with which you deliver it, how you approach it to another person, is how they're going to receive it. So when it comes to boundaries, especially a lot of us who are new to setting boundaries, we don't think about the tone or the body language. We're still incredibly anxious about having the conversation or having the confrontation, if that's what it feels like. And so we come to the exchange with all of this constricted, it could be frustrated energy, could be angry energy. Even if your words are not aggressive or hostile, if you approach the person and your energy is terrified, they're going to feel that. If your energy is super timid, like, hey, is it okay? They're going to feel that. And depending on the person, right? Think about this. If we come towards someone like, I hope it's okay, we're overly apologetic about our boundary request. If that person is someone who can be manipulative, they might immediately be offended or try to take control. Or if you're acting like they should be offended, sometimes people just get offended. Does that make sense? Have you had that experience where I can tell you I used to be a talent agent, and from negotiating contracts in my career for many years, however I approached the interaction, the negotiation, whatever my energy was, is the way the person received it. And I felt like I had a lot of power to set the tone in that negotiation by coming to it with very calm energy. I would always say things like, hey, Bob, I know that you're just doing your job, right? The other person, the person from the ad agency, is trying to pay less money to the model that I'm trying to get more money for. So I would always acknowledge, like, hey, I know you're just doing your job and I'm just doing my job. None of this is personal. And I have no doubt that we'll be able to come to terms. So I'm already setting the stage. Now, I'm not necessarily saying use those exact words in a boundary negotiation, but the vibe that you bring has everything to do with how it's received. So I want you to take a minute, and I'm going to give you all of this in the guide. So terricole.com/guide. I'm going to walk you through some of these processes. But I want you to think for yourself right now. What is your tone? Do you wait so long to say something that by the time you do it with anger? Because this is very common for boundary bosses in training, that we wait too long. And then when you do it, either you explode or you do it with more aggression than is necessary, which is really counterproductive to what you want to happen. So I'm going to give you a bunch of things you can do to sort of get out all of that constricted or hard or aggressive or rigid energy before you have the conversation. But I want you to think right now for yourself. How often do you approach someone and it doesn't really go the way that you want it to go? And if you were to think a little bit more deeply about that interaction, think about your tone of voice. Think about your body language in that interaction. Think about the energy, the vibe, what is behind the words, because the words are only one part of what we're doing when we are making a boundary request, when we are setting a limit with someone, even if we're setting a deal breaker with someone like a non-negotiable. The words are only one part because we are whole beings. And so the other parts are very important if you want to be successful, which is why we need to do pre-work. You guys are always asking me for scripts, and I do provide scripts, but I also always provide other psychological steps that you can take, because here's the thing. I can give you all the perfect words. If your energy is not aligned, if you say those perfect words with annoyance or sarcasm or aggression, it doesn't matter about the words. What the person is going to feel and react to is your vibe, right? It's what you're coming at them with. So it's really important to do pre-work, right? So let's talk about what can you do to be more successful, even if you are very new to setting boundaries. Well, one thing you can do is, I've got some steps. It's, I call it a proactive boundary success plan, where we have to first identify who is the receiver, who are you talking to? Because unless it's a total stranger, which you wouldn't even be able to do a proactive boundary success plan for, you know the players in your life. You know how people react and respond. You know who's defensive every time you try to tell them something. You know who's more open-hearted. You know who's more secure. You know who's more insecure. So we need to get clear about two things. One, what is the boundary that's needed? What is the request? What is the limit? What is the deal breaker? You've got to be really clear, right? We can't be vague in our conversations when we need to make specific requests. So saying to your partner, I really need you to be more sensitive, is not helpful. Saying to your partner, I'd like to make a simple request that when I'm talking to you about something important, that you put your phone down. That would really make me feel loved and listened to if you would give me your full attention while I'm talking about this topic that is important to me. So you are now requesting a specific action. You are putting forth a specific boundary request for your partner. Now, again, we don't know that they're going to do it. Hopefully they will. But being specific is very important to the success of your boundary. And then we need to know who the person is. So we're first being specific about the request, and this is all in your proactive, meaning we're going to be doing all of this before you actually initiate the boundary conversation. So knowing the person, when is a good time to approach them? If they're not a morning person, then we're not going to have this conversation before they've had their morning coffee or in the morning at all, right? What is the optimal time to have this conversation? Knowing who you're dealing with and knowing yourself. Is it easier to talk when you guys are home from work, or going out to dinner, or maybe you do, a State of the Union every 2 weeks, and that's on a Sunday morning. Is that an easier time to talk about it? Or a time when there'd be more receptivity? Because that's what we're really talking about. If the person is cramming for a big talk they have to do tomorrow, or that it's the fourth quarter and they're an accountant, maybe you're not going to have this conversation until after April 15th, right? If you live in the US and that's tax day. So we want to be strategic about when we're talking to the person in knowing them, right? So all of that is information you need to know about the person and you need to know about yourself. And then you have to visualize how you want it to go. Really visualize. There is so much power in visualization. And we're not going to visualize necessarily the person agreeing with you and you getting everything that you want, right? Even though I want you to get what you want. It's not that. Success, when it comes to making boundary requests, is simply doing it. You're successful if you do it, because your healing comes from asserting yourself, comes from thinking that how you feel, what you want, what you think matters enough for you to have the conversation. And sometimes in relationships, we have to negotiate. The person doesn't just go, oh, okay, that's what you want. But there is something very powerful about visualizing yourself with a smile on your face, standing firm in your boundary, but doing it with love, doing it with kindness. We can always start a boundary request with sweetness, with kindness, right? There's no reason to be aggressive. We're not coming from the assumption that this person is going to reject us or that they're not going to agree. But if you don't say it, they can't possibly know it. So with the visualization, I want you to feel the feelings of having the courage, of being calm, of feeling centered while you're having the conversation. And yes, it's also okay to see it going the way you want it to go. But I really want you to understand that becoming a boundary boss means having these conversations often, getting used to having these conversations, being willing to have these conversations, which means that sometimes they're not going to go your way. But here's the thing. Your healing is in the asking. It's in the asserting yourself. That person knows more about you, whether they agree, whether they disagree, whether they say, okay, well, I can't do that, but I can do this, right? Sometimes we have to negotiate in our relationships. And we, as boundary bosses in training, cannot be so fragile that the moment we get pushback, we're like, oh my God, I'm never asking for anything ever again in my life. Because A, you're not that fragile. B, your relationships are not that fragile. But it's not productive to be so thin-skinned, to be so afraid of what appears to be rejection. It's not. And I learned this so much in my life as a talent agent with negotiating, how it really isn't personal. I didn't have to take it personally. I didn't have to assume that Bob from the ad agency trying to pay my person less means he's degrading my person or thinks she's not worth it or is doing something to me. We're all trying to get our needs met. I want you to approach every boundary conversation from the point of view that you have a right to get your needs met. And you also owe it to the people in your life to tell the truth about how you feel and what you want. And of course, that will look different whether it's your partner or whether it's your boss, obviously. When there's a power differential, the way we approach it, of course, is going to be different. But it's important that you realize and recognize that how you feel is important and that becoming boundary literate is a long game. This is a lifelong learning. It's a lifelong evolution to become really fluent in the language of boundaries. But it's so worth it, right? Because you being known is worth it. Being accurately, succinctly heard, seen, and known is worth it. So you're going to do your proactive boundary success plan. And the last step in that is coming up with the words. You don't have to have a script that you go by like, oh my God, I have to say these exact words. But you do need to know how you're going to approach them. And in the guide, terricole.com/guide, I'm going to give you some boundary request sort of sentence starters to make it easier. So you can choose to start with kindness, with sweetness, as long as it's true. You can choose to just say, hey, I'd like to make a simple request, and then go into what the simple request is. But I'll give you a couple of sentence stems, we call them, to make it easier for you to build it the way that you need to build it. And then the last step there is that you need to say it out loud before you actually go into the conversation. So maybe you can role play with a friend. Maybe you can just say it in the mirror. Because here's the thing. If this is relatively new, or you're still sort of got your training wheels on with boundaries, which most people do, sometimes if we haven't said the words before out loud, they can provoke a very emotional response. So this whole process of discharging that emotion by saying it, right? It can be emotional when we start to assert ourselves in our relationships. It can be emotional. And there's so many reasons why, right? So it's having compassion for ourselves. And there's something that walking through the process ahead of time and actually saying it, getting the words in your body, makes it so much easier. You know, you guys, when I do talks, right, especially anything when I did my TEDx, anything I'm nervous about, like long talks, you know, with no notes, right? What I do is I write it, I rewrite it, I write it, I make it be basically what I want to say. And then with bullet points, I record it into my phone. And I will do that as many times as I need to until I feel like I've got the talk where I want the talk to be. And then I listen to it over and over again. I get the words, and then I will do it. Then I'll actually do it in the mirror. But before I do it, I listen to it. So I think that this could be helpful. Once you actually get your script, record yourself saying it. Say it a couple of times and then record yourself saying it. Slow down. No matter how slow you're going, you probably want to go 10% slower than you think. Because a lot of times, especially with doing things that feel anxiety provoking for us, at least me, I want to rush through it. My team is always like, slow down, you know. Let the words land. And we need them to land within us first. But if you listen to it a bunch of times, and you can also record how you want it to go, and listen to that as a visualization. I see myself talking to my friend and telling her that I can't go on the vacation that I already said I could go on, but now I can't. And these are the words that I'm using. And I feel solid. And I feel that I have a right to change my mind. And I see her receiving this with love and having compassion for the situation that I'm in. Like maybe, you had to pay money for something and that's why you can't go on the vacation now or whatever. But if you actually do that visualization and listen to that, there's something incredibly powerful about feeling the feelings of it happening the way that you want it to happen. And here's the thing, since we can't control other people, right? What we can control is ourselves and what we bring to the boundary setting conversation. And that is everything that I've talked about in this episode, from your tone to the words to your body language. Be aware of what your body language is actually saying to this other person, right? You want to be able to stand tall. And in the visualization, say, I see myself standing tall. I see a smile on my face, right? I feel the feelings of being secure and centered and ready to have the conversation. It's flowing with ease and grace. I have different sayings for myself, especially before I give a big talk. I'm so happy and grateful now that the right and perfect words flow with ease and grace. I am divinely guided and protected, right? So those are ones that you can use. And don't worry, you guys, I'll put all this in the guide for you. I hope that this episode added value to your life. I hope it's going to make you more secure in setting boundaries. Don't forget to go get the guide at terricole.com/guide. I hope you have an amazing week. And as always, take care of you.